my name is David.
And I'm Dylan.
And we're the Wet Rats. And today we're talking about Evangelion 3.33. Repeating, of course. If you followed our Evangelion stuff before, we have a podcast, that's what this is an episode of, called You Cannot Rewatch, where we rewatch all of Evangelion. We did the entire TV series, all 26 episodes. We did End of Evangelion. We did the first 2 Rebuild movies, and we've done the short films that have come out this last year. And now we're finally talking about the most recent release, 3.33.
Well, on a dubbed release. We said dubbed release.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
it's still
the most recent.
Sure.
Like, aside from the short films, it's still the most recent actual thing released. Yep. So we're talking about it, and we are talking about the dubbed version, which just came out on Blu-ray. Luckily, that came out really quick. Didn't have to wait too long.
Then went
on. So make sure you don't necessarily have needed to watch the dub, but we will talk a little bit about, I think, the voice acting and some stuff. So, maybe you definitely need to have seen 3.0 or 3.33 or whatever the fuck you want to call it, the third movie, before you watch this. If you listen to this before watching that movie, that's dumb of you to do, because this is a rewatch thing. But we are, just to clarify, we are specifically talking about the dub, though they're pretty much the same. I'm not entirely sure. Some line differences, stuff like that, but I'm sure there is some. But also, we're talking about all of Evangelion, because if you followed our stuff so far, we've covered everything already. So if for some reason you're watching the Rebuild movies and have never seen the series, I'm sure we'll probably, just from contrasting, bring up some stuff from the series. So just so we're clear, any possible spoilers for anything Evangelion will be in this episode. Make sense?
Yeah. Kind of, this is the first time we have a podcast where we don't have to worry about not saying anything technically in advance, because we don't have to worry about getting to it.
Yeah.
This kind of encapsulates everything we've been talking about to this point.
Yeah. So, first of all, not that it hasn't been brought up enough, but I just wanted to quickly reiterate why the fuck did this take so long?
Yeah, so weird thing here. This is David's first time seeing the dub.
Yes, I've seen 3. Yeah, that's a good point. I've seen this movie several times. The first time I actually ever watched it was cam rip of the Japanese version. There were no subtitles. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it wasn't dubbed. I literally just watched the movie not understanding a single word. I don't speak Japanese, because I couldn't wait to see it, so I had to watch it. Didn't understand much. It was kind of hard to follow, not speaking the language, especially because this is a pretty wordy movie, even though it has some pretty big action set pieces. It's a very wordy, dialogue-driven. It's the same as Evangelion in general. But I think, out of these 3 movies, if you were to watch them with no sound, not no sound, because just without understanding it, I think this is the most confusing. Yeah, because you can probably kind of understand the first 2.
The first 2 you can is kind of like retelling of the same thing. Which is
why I thought I would be okay, because I was like, well, how much is going to be changed?
Sure.
It's probably pretty much like the third act of the series. I'll understand it. Boy, I did not.
Yeah.
Then I watched it when the official sub released. Not the official sub, sorry. There wasn't an official sub, but, like the official fan sub, where it was actually, some fans had gone, not sure who to credit on that one, but had actually gone through and, subtitled the whole movie. And it wasn't a cam rip, it was actually the HD rip of the movie. The cam rip was not great, but that's the world I lived in for a bit. But yeah, I've never seen the dub version until now. I was really excited. A lot of people hate the dubs of anything, of any anime. People are really particular about that. We've talked about that on our series before, if you followed us before. I like the dub of Evangelion. I think on the series, on the actual Neon Genesis Evangelion series, I think it's a little rougher, especially in the first half or so of the series. I do see why the dub turned a lot of people off. I think the second half of the series, the voice actors kind of find their pacing. I think in the movies, they're really well done. I think Funimation, those people, for one thing, they'd already done it before. Most of them. There were some new people brought on for some new voices. Like, Ritsuko's different. Rei, I believe, is different. Funimation knows how to direct people.
Well, apparently not.
Well, I don't know if that was a directing problem.
So what this is David's first time seeing the dub.
Yes.
This is my second time seeing the dub, which is apparently different than the first time I saw the dub.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have this pre-ordered since November 2013. And it was originally supposed to come out in January. Actually, it was originally supposed to come out February 14, I think.
2014?
Yeah, February of 2014. But before that, in case some of you might have gone to this too, Funimation did a select theater release of the dub in theaters. Luckily, one of them was near me, and I went to see it.
Yeah, and that was early 2014, right?
It was early 2014. That end of the month, they canceled all the rest of the theater showings and then pushed the dub back
Yeah, because I was planning on going
Yeah.
To the theater to see it, but then all of a sudden I couldn't, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
shit, I wanted to
So
go
I
see that.
got extremely lucky by having the one next to me be one of the very first showings for it. So that was lucky as hell. All I've ever heard is why it got pushed back is apparently the guy who does the dialogue from Japanese didn't think it was true enough to his original script, so they wanted him to do things. It's been so long since I've seen the dub one, I don't remember much changes.
Yeah, and I'm sure somewhere on the internet the original dub version can be found, but I have never seen it.
And this could be, this is the thing, is I can't specifically name changes.
Oh, hang on a second. Hopefully our audio wasn't bad. I had it against the table in a weird way. Hopefully that's okay.
So I can't name specific differences, but I will say it did feel different, and I don't know why. Maybe because, maybe it's the excitement of seeing a theater gives you a different thing.
Yeah, maybe also just you were looking at it with different eyes.
True.
Because you were kind of looking at it more in maybe a nitpicky way of like, where's the problem? Or like,
right. Well, I wasn't
what's
looking for nitpicky. It just, because I still think it was really, really good. I agree. Maybe I was trying to look for one thing. I will say one thing that immediately popped out to me, though, is Asuka did seem different.
Okay.
When I remember seeing this one, is Asuka's character seems very different, when I watched the dub, was very different than Asuka before. Almost like a different Asuka. Okay. But this one still seems on par with regular Asuka. So
I was wondering, because again, I didn't see the original dub. I feel like there's a difference to me. There are similarities, like she's still, kind of like got the attitude.
Well,
she yells
that's
a
not
lot.
even like her dialogue, but the tone of her voice.
Yeah.
This one's still, it's different, but still kind of the bitchy Asuka. The other one I remember.
Yeah, I guess the way I looked at it was maybe it's just the context, but I thought it was bitchy, but in like this different way. Like even just from the voice, not the dialogue, but even just from the voice, I almost felt like there was this bitchiness, but not coming from this like teenage arrogance place, but coming out of like a real place. And I felt that in the voice.
And again, maybe I'm misremembering it, but when I remember it, it wasn't even like bitchiness like that. She was a very serious Asuka.
Okay.
Like very serious. Kind of just like everything, like all that petty stuff didn't matter anymore. She just like over it. Just like, hey, we're kind of like.
Interesting. I'd be curious to see, to other people that may have happened to see it in theaters. Did you notice anything or like?
Yeah, please, because it's been a while since I do it. Maybe you remember it better than me. Like,
yeah.
Please let me know.
But anyways, it is finally out.
Yeah.
When it came in the mail, I just kind of looked at it. I was like, I kind of can't believe it's here.
As I put it in, like it's just like I feel like I shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah, something feels wrong about it finally having it. But it's here. We watched it. Now we're gonna actually talk about the movie.
This is the longest pre-order I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be one of the longest pre-orders ever.
Yeah,
right?
because I didn't even when these pushed it back, I never canceled it. It is the still exact same pre-order that I had. In fact, luckily I did pre-order it because it was $10 cheaper than it is now.
Nice.
So. But yeah, so here we go. Let's get into it, I guess.
All right. So first off, I want to say this is a kind of a divisive movie for Evangelion fans. I think over time people have liked it more, but I remember when this came out, when the sub was officially online and you could watch the movie subbed. I remember a lot of people were really, really torn on it. I don't know if people are quite as torn as they were at the time. I think maybe it was just such a shock at the time that people needed some time to process it. I think maybe people have come around on it a bit more. But I think it's a very divisive film because, obviously comparing it to the original show, which you kind of have to do. It draws that comparison, obviously. The original series definitely gets weird at the end. But I think the thing is, most people, now I do know for sure, a couple people that listen to this podcast have written in before and said that they actually watched Evangelion when it was airing. So they know what it was like to have to wait.
Right.
But most people got to binge watch Evangelion, including End of Evangelion. Most people got to watch it all, back to back to back. And so any questions you might have had, obviously End of Evangelion doesn't sit you down and answer all your questions, but you had the complete picture to look at it and be able to know what decisions to draw, what conclusions to draw. With this, we don't.
We really don't.
We're still missing a very important piece of the chapter. And so I think when this came out, people felt like they didn't have answers, things weren't clear, they didn't make sense, and that's because they're not. And it's because we don't have the full picture yet.
Is this the first one to do the next time on Evangelion that doesn't do any of that actually doesn't show anything actually happens? Or did they do that in the first one too?
That does what?
You know when they say next time, like the first thing? Because I don't remember. Was the first one exactly what happened, or was it different too? I think that one happened pretty much the same, didn't it? Or did they even do it next time on?
I don't remember.
Because that's what I think confused a lot of people too, is in the end of 2, you have next time. And you have all these things you're shown.
Yes, but a lot of things to expect and to look forward to, and none of them are here.
Yeah.
None of them.
Not because necessarily they didn't happen, but because they either happened before here or
Yes.
what.
Yeah, I believe everything happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think it happened in between
Me too.
this movie.
So it just adds to the more, like you're saying, they're missing so much stuff. We don't really know what happens to them.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people that think that in 4, we will kind of maybe see some flashbacks or go back and see some of what happened in this 14-year gap. I actually am of the opinion that we won't. I don't think we're ever going to see what happened in those 14 years. I think we'll hear about it a little bit. I don't think we're actually going to see or even are told explicitly what happened. I think we'll have hints and allusions to it in the next movie. But I think that's going to be a constant, forever mystery among Evangelion fans, is what happened in the 14 years. I could be wrong. That's my theory, to be fair. A lot of people disagree. But just in terms of like reaction to this movie, I think people maybe didn't like it as much just because it's not even just that we don't have a lot of answers. I think it's because this is sort of just a punch to the gut as a movie. The last movie did end in a way that was sort of a downer, but the whole movie was kind of about rising up and doing what you believe in, and it's kind of a hopeful message of a movie.
Right.
Even though at the end it kind of seems like maybe that didn't work out. We don't know that for sure at the end, I guess. We don't know how it's going to pan out exactly. I just feel like the second movie you can kind of leave feeling a little bit positive. And this movie is just a constant series of downers. It is just depressing thing after depressing thing. And then finally the character Shinji seems to find some hope. And then it's all taken away and it's even more depressing than it was. And I think maybe, not that the original Evangelion was the happiest show, but there was always kind of a contrast. Like for every bad thing, or every depressing thing, there was always something to take away from it that was more positive. And I think this movie, just as a standalone movie, there's really nothing positive about it.
No.
The energy of it is really down. It's really kind of a just depressing movie.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think maybe people weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
Even people that had seen the original show. Everybody expects a little bit of depressing stuff in the Evangelion because that's kind of what it is. But I think this movie is just such a downer. After waiting so long for it, even if you didn't have to wait for this Blu-ray, even just waiting so long between 2 and 3, you kind of just get shit on as a fan.
Well, it's kind of
I personally like that a lot, but I see why people wouldn't.
Well, I think it's kind of on par with what's exactly happening with Shinji and the Thing. Shinji gets nothing but shit on this entire movie the whole time. It's you kind of feel like you're going along with it with Shinji. Like all of a sudden, before everybody was cheering on Shinji, like yeah, Shinji, do it, do it, do it, and then all of a sudden, like look in the context of for Shinji, this is literally the next day. 14 years have not passed for him. It's the next day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, no one wants to talk to him. Everybody's blaming him for literally everything that happened. It's just super, super depressing and down. And like Shinji kind of looks like a bitch because he's just like, why are you guys blaming me? But really, I don't blame him. Why he's like, literally yesterday you guys are telling me to do this stuff and I did it. And then now everybody's pissed at me. Like, really when you think about it, it really kind of isn't his fault at all. Nothing he really did is necessarily his fault.
It depends on how you assign blame.
Well, that's what I'm saying is everybody's literally trying to make it seem like they are blameless. They did nothing wrong. When all Shinji kind of did is go along the path all those people were kind of leading him towards. Yeah. Sure, Gendo was even controlling the other people hoping they do that, but really, those other people aren't any... I feel like Masato isn't any less blameless than Shinji is. Those people kind of all... they kind of made him do it.
Right, but I wouldn't say they made him do it. Masato definitely was cheering him on. But you have to also keep in mind, as far as how those characters are thinking of it, if you had a friend that was like working hard on something and you're like, yeah, dude, you can do it, and then the thing they were working on ended the entire world, killed almost every single person, and then that person was gone for 14 years, and then when you see them again, you don't even know if they're that person, it would be hard to be like, don't sweat it, man.
Sure, but they're kind of just being they're not filling Shinji in information what happened or everything.
I think part of that is because they aren't sure if this is Shinji.
Right.
They might be telling something to the wrong person.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Because even we even seen we both wrote down is on Shinji's feet when they pull him out. He has BM03 Esakari
bowel movement
03 Esakari question mark.
Yeah. They even wrote question mark on his feet. Yeah. They didn't need to do that. I think they already knew.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was going to see his feet and be like, oh, I'm glad they put these question marks here because I wasn't sure. I think everybody already knew. Well, whatever, they wrote it down anyways for the audience. But yeah, and that's something I want to...
But even again, granted, they might not know Shinji, but even if they do, it's just like, it's not like Shinji knew what he's doing. He thought he was genuinely helping out. No one told him anything about instrumentality or all this other bullshit. He didn't know about any of this crap. He was just like, it happened. He didn't know he was an instrument of something. no idea.
Yeah, but I feel like it would be too hard to not put the blame on somebody.
I don't think I would make him blameless, but I don't think I would. If I was like one of those people in the crew, I don't think I'd be like, oh, I didn't do anything either. Especially if I was Masada, I don't think I'd be like, well, I'm blameless.
I mean, but it depends on the kind of person you are, because you have to keep in mind that these are people that are dealing with the fact that they may have been responsible for the end of the world or the death of millions.
Yes,
it's much easier to blame it on
oh
somebody.
no,
that's
it
not
totally
there
is.
to defend
You know,
themselves.
I'm not. I get why they do it as human beings.
Yeah,
it's just I'm just saying that's why it's such a downer note because
sure, yeah,
you feel through Shinji being like, hey, why you like quit blaming me for this shit? Like,
right,
leave me alone.
And then this is by the way, just heads up to anyone listening. We'll probably jump around a little bit. It's kind of this movie. The way it's structured, it's a little hard to talk about things in the exact order they come out in, so we might jump around a little bit. But yeah, I mean, even like, you know, because Anno has always been somebody who wants to kind of, he doesn't want to like feed into the typical expectations of his audiences.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the typical crowds for anything, but especially the anime. The way, you know, they'll talk about stuff like, he kind of wants to what's the right word? He wants to fuck, I can't think of the right word.
What are you trying to describe? Go against the grain?
Yeah, but there's like a what's the word I want to? I don't know. Fuck it. But yeah, you know, he wants to defy your expectations of what you would hope would happen. In the last movie, Shinji grows as a character in a positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
Asuka grows as a character in a positive direction. She becomes, you know, at the start of that movie, she's very aggressive. She becomes more passive as the movie goes on and it starts doing things for other people instead of just herself. Rei grows tremendously as a person. She, in a similar way, she starts doing things for other people and starts becoming more warm-hearted. She even tries and almost succeeds in getting Shinji and his father in a room together. Even Gendo actually tries to go to that dinner, which proves that he was trying to grow as a person, which is one of the biggest, crazy things of all. So much positive growth that happens in that movie that, you know, audiences love. You know, who doesn't love your favorite characters, you know, becoming happy? Or, you know, everybody wants that. And in this movie, Asuka is back to being hard-headed and bitchy and stubborn and, you know, even more
very much
angry than
adult-like
she was before.
now. She's back to being like a serious kind of adult type.
Yeah, Rei is seemingly gone.
Ray's not even. The
Rei we knew is gone.
Yeah, it's totally.
We have something else here that's sort of a shell of what it was, which is almost what this movie is. It's almost a shell of everything that you had grown to love in the last one.
The coolest, not the coolest one to me, I guess. It was interesting one to me too is Shinji's character, because Shinji's character is technically his change isn't based off of over time. He's still the same person he was when he woke up. It's now becoming reactive to be like, hey, I changed this person, but now everything I grew to become familiar with when you guys changed is all reverted back, and all that confusion of being like, why aren't you like you were like a minute ago for me?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the person that was maybe closest to him, Misato, is so distant, and
it's not even so distant. She has literally a collar on him that can kill him at any moment.
Yeah, but I mean, even when he comes into the room, she doesn't even look at him.
No,
she won't even face him until, you know, the very end.
Well, I think someone pointed this before too, and I noticed this, is the only time she really faces him and talks to him directly is when she has her glasses off.
Yeah, that's true.
The only time she ever
although the second time, I guess one of her glasses like broken open.
Yeah, but still technically.
Yeah, still, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much this movie's hard to discuss because it you know, without knowing the full picture, it's a lot of guesswork. Like, let's just start trying to actually go through the movie now.
Okay.
So it opens up, and let me just say real quick. I said this about the last one. This movie looks so goddamn good.
Yes.
The animation, the art style, the coloring, just the direction, the cinematography, the art direction is all so tremendous. It's such a goddamn gorgeous movie. But it starts out in space, actually, where Shinji, not even necessarily just Shinji, but the Unit 1 is in a crucifix-like structure.
Yeah, like a coffin crucifix.
Sort of, yeah, exactly. And as far as we know, this is Unit 1 as we last saw it. So presumably Shinji and Rei are both still inside, although they later say that Rei is not. But then we're also later told that Rei is. Because they say they scrubbed Unit 1 and they were unable to find anything else, but we know Yui's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to find her either, so... there's a sort of a rescue mission to get Unit 1 back. As to why Unit 1 is in this state, I don't even necessarily have a good guess. of course.
I'm also wondering how long a time period was from this excavation mission to when we see Shinji wake up.
I don't think long.
Because they have Unit 1 as the core in that thing now.
Yeah.
I wonder how long that took.
I wouldn't think it would take that long because they had it in there, but it wasn't even activated. Asuka has to emergency activate it. True. So it looks like they just kind of threw it on there, and we're like, well, we'll fix this later. Right. Oh shit, we need to fix it now. Yeah. So I don't think it's been that long. I mean, it must have been a little bit of time because it sounds like they had to put Shinji back together. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because it's actually similar to what happened in the original series. Yeah. After the same thing happened, where Unit 1 activates and destroys the same angel in episode 19. I don't know what the angel's name is. Sorry, guys. I don't know that. But the same one, where in the original series he absorbs the S2 engine, and then Shinji merges with the Eva, and there's a whole episode where he's lost, and then he actually kind of manages to pull himself back together in that one. But it's a similar thing. That's what's interesting here is there's actually a lot of what happens in this movie. I think it's easy to look at this movie and say, wow, this is so incredibly different. There's actually a lot of parallels from the original series. That's one I just named. The whole thing with Karu is actually very similar to the way it happened. It's just sort of like this is the extended, slightly alternate edition. Yeah. But it's actually very similar. Even the way Karu sacrifices himself is not that different from how it happened in the original. Obviously, Shinji actually kills him himself in the original series. But it's a very similar thing. I mean, even his head comes off in both. Yeah. There are a lot of similarities, despite how different the world of this one is. In some ways, it's almost more about how it's alike the original series than how it's different. But yeah, so as they're back a second, when they're still rescuing Unit 1, Asuka starts getting attacked by, I don't know if this is actually an angel or one of the Nemesis series kind of things. I don't remember if they actually say.
The things going in space?
Yeah.
It looks like the Nemesis things we see later. Yeah. Later on, so I'm assuming it's probably.
See, that would make sense to me because I almost get the impression that maybe Nerve put Shinji into this bitch. Because I don't think an angel put him in a box.
I would wager it would be Nerve because Gindu obviously built this whole entire system with the intentions of using Shinji again. Yeah. So I would assume that he knew he already had a way to get Shinji back, other than hoping that Vil would go get him. Right. So yeah, I bet that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it could have been them.
It could have been them or Sailor, one of the two.
But it seems strange that they would have launched him out there for so long. Maybe they needed to get ready to bring him back. But it seems crazy that they launched him into this position that would be so high risk to get back from. And also, if they launched him there, did an angel just happen to land on him later, or a Nemesis series happen to land on him later? Surely whoever put him there put that on there as a safety precaution.
Yeah, assuming they had a precaution.
But anyways, it starts attacking Asuka. She's unable to defeat it, but as she calls idiot Shinji. And there's sort of an awakening. We see an eye, presumably the eye of the Eva of Unit 1. And they mention this later because they say that Shinji now has a 0% sync rate with Unit 1. But they do say one of the reasons we're using the DSS choker is because clearly you don't have you can't really have a 0% because it awakened earlier when you were in danger. It awakened and helped Asuka. So you might turn on the light real quick. Sorry guys, it's getting a little dark in here. I can't see my notes. Quick thing. A couple things about Asuka. When we see her, she got an eye patch, which is brought up later. Now, a lot of the people have said online, and this is kind of what I believe. I think you probably think this too. Seems like Asuka might have an angel inside of her.
I don't want to speculate. I don't want to do absolutes because we don't know absolutely.
Yeah.
I just feel like she absolutely has something like that.
Yeah.
Because
the last time we saw her in 2.0, she was contaminated. The Eva she was in was contaminated by an angel. Presumably she was as well. And they put her into quarantine in fear of contamination.
Well, also when the angel, the little, they pick up the blue thing for the first time, the Nemesis thing, her eye immediately starts exploding things out. Immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what most people think, is that maybe she has been contaminated by an angel.
Also, this is skipping way ahead, but to the very last thing we kind of hear Asuka say is, the Lilin can't come here, we have to go to them.
That's true.
And the only people who refer to Lilin as Lilin are angels.
Yeah, the only person we've heard do that in the show is Karu. Who's an angel. But what's funny about that to me is they had Asuka in quarantine because they feared she had contamination. Is it Vil Is that what they're called?
Yeah, Vil.
Do they not realize that she's contaminated? If she is,
Here's what I was,
because
I
it's
think
so
you're gonna say
crazy to
something
me
else.
that they're like, oh shit, we gotta put this thing on Shinji. We gotta not talk to him. Oh, but Asuka, she's fine. Whatever.
That's it. I just made that comment when we talking about angels. It's gonna be the same thing. It's like they're obviously she must be contaminated, and they kind of know it,
Yeah.
but are cool with it. They're just like, okay, well, it's still Asuka. We know it's Asuka. But I mean, and again, it's been 14 years. Maybe Asuka went through the same process,
Maybe, yeah.
and she eventually proved herself, and we don't know that. But then again, too,
And maybe that's why she's being hard on Shinji. She's like, hey, I had to go through this shit.
yeah.
Who
But then again,
knows?
too, also when she turned into an angel, she was getting attacked and murdered by an angel, and not really causing the third impact like Shinji was when he went in there.
Sure.
So, and again, there's so many things happening when hers is a little bit different when she possibly merged Angel. Angel attached onto her thing. When Shinji got into that whole contamination thing,
Sure, but I mean, if you're
third impact.
contaminated by a fucking alien,
Yeah, sure.
that seems fucked up. I mean, I know the angels aren't really aliens,
Right.
But like, I mean, essentially they are. Even though they are also from Earth, you know, they're not from Earth originally.
But I'm sure. I mean, it wasn't like Asuka wakes up and they're like, "Hey, cool."
Sure, but it
sure.
just seems weird that like,
Yeah.
what if that thing like, I mean, it's in her fucking head. What if it
Yeah.
contaminates her brain and she
Right.
hijacks the whole goddamn thing? But whatever, you know. Maybe it's not an angel. We
Maybe
don't know.
not.
Maybe she's got some kind of cybernetic enhancement
Yeah.
that only
True.
lights up when angels are around and she
True.
sees them.
Plus, Shinji's a little bit more. What do I want to say? Manipulate. You can easily manipulate Shinji.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's see. What else do we got? Perfect match. Why did I say that? This is the part of the show.
Perfect match for Shinji's DNA. So all of his components, his dental, his genes, everything.
Oh, that's
perfectly
right.
match
Yeah.
with
So that's interesting because they don't say, "Oh yeah, it's Shinji." They're like, "Well, it's a perfect match to Shinji."
And which always felt weird to me, but until I kind of compared it to Kim coming back together.
Yeah.
When he came back together, they had no idea what they're getting there.
Here's something that I want to bring up, and I don't know this. I don't remember this 100%. Someone can let me know in the comments. I would very much appreciate if you let me know or send us an email, thewetrats@gmail.com. I am so positive that in the sub version, one of the crew members aboard the Wunder makes a remark about Kaji. And I do not remember hearing that in this dub version.
Oh yeah, it is the girl says something about Kaji or something like
Oh, I
that.
thought it was the guy, like the older
was it?
guy.
Maybe it
I
was.
thought it was.
Yeah.
I swear I remember him saying something about like, I don't even.
Because almost like
really
Kaji
don't
was with a
remember.
group of other people, but not necessarily alive, but like at one point, like
Yeah.
speculated to have Kaji doing something at some point.
Yeah, it seemed like I remember him saying something like, "Oh, Kaji showed us this trick or something."
Yeah.
I just remember something about it. So,
Yes. No, I definitely remember that now.
Yeah, but I really did not hear that here.
And I don't
so-
remember if that was in the original dub or not either. I don't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I remember that from the sub. Maybe it was subbed wrong.
Well, this will probably also still have subs.
That's true. It probably does. Yeah, I'm sure it does actually. But let's move on. So I'm curious about this crew. Because in this movie, I mean, we do seem to get some kind of idea that somewhere else there are some people left.
Yes.
We don't see them in this movie. So I'm curious, like, how this crew came together. In the original show, Misato and Ritsuko were very, very good friends. But the way things go, they don't end on good terms at all. Ritsuko starts betraying pretty much everybody in the series.
Yeah.
But in this show, in these movies, she's like still hanging out with Misato as like it's nothing. You
And
know,
again, like
in the
maybe
original
once-
series, it seems like maybe if the split happened between Nerve and Misato's crew, it seems like Ritsuko would have gone with Gendo in the original series. I mean, I know that this is a different thing; it's a different take on the character, but I'm a little surprised to see her here. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "Wow, I'm surprised she's here and not with Gendo."
maybe she just takes a betrayal in a different sense of being like, you know what? I mean, it's hard to say too because he's trying to bend your expectations.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's 14-year gap. So many different things that will possibly happen in 14 years gaps.
Yeah.
It's really hard to speculate why things turn out the way they are.
Definitely. Another interesting character that is aboard the ship is Toji's sister,
Yes.
which I can't remember her name. Something Suzahara.
No, the last name.
Yep. That's interesting that she's here. It's cool as a fan because we never really got to see her. We do actually see her in 2.0 as a young girl.
Yes.
We see her as she's getting released from the hospital. In the original series, I don't believe we ever saw her. So it's cool. You know, that was a character we always heard about. It's interesting. What was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Seeing her,
A
someone-
picture of Wario popped up, so, you know, that's a good distraction for anybody. But yeah, it's interesting that she's here. She doesn't mention her brother at all, aside from when Shinji says something about Toji, and she kind of like shakes her head, like, yeah, I'm related. But
Thanks
she
for
doesn't.
being so nice to him and stuff like that.
Yeah, but she doesn't say like, by the way, he's dead, or by the way, he's alive. She doesn't
Yeah.
say anything about him. Because I mean, I would guess he's dead, but we don't know. But it's interesting that she's all right if he would be dead. I don't know what would happen.
And again, we never know. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, who would survive what, who would not. So.
Right, and I mean the main reason I think that most people would say he's probably dead is because later on in the movie,
Yeah.
we see, of course, the shirt that has his name on it.
And again, that is a student shirt, so he could have just gotten older. Why would he be still wearing a student shirt?
Sure.
And I doubt they still went to school after Third Impact happened, or near Third Impact happened.
Sure, yeah, possible.
So, I mean, several reasons of that.
Yeah, but it is interesting that she decided to get herself involved in this. That's why I almost wonder if, although, if Toji had died, wouldn't she maybe blame Shinji for that, the way Toji had blamed?
Yes, and she totally doesn't seem to blame Shinji for anything.
That's true. So maybe he is okay. Because even if, we were talking about, like, is it rational to blame Shinji? Maybe not. But if your brother died as a result of something Shinji did, I don't think rationality would have anything to do with it. I think you would blame him for it. And also, the other person you might blame would maybe be, the people that were around Shinji, like Misato.
Yeah.
She doesn't maybe know that Misato egged Shinji on, but...
Yeah, it just seems like if she died, she would not want to be a part of this crew.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe he's alive, or maybe he died, but she understands, and she wants to help. I don't know.
Who knows?
Hard to say. So we learned about the Nemesis series. Well, I say learn about them. We don't really. We hear about them. We hear them. There's something called the Nemesis series, which appears to be artificially created angels, is what the take I got from it. Mm-hmm. They have similarities to how angels seem to move around and interact, and they seem to be destroyed in a similar fashion. They're not Evas. They don't seem to be like Evas. They're not piloted. They seem very much like angels. So I'm guessing Nerve made them. As I think that's the only guess we can make.
Yeah.
But we don't really see any facilities for Nerve doing that, or there's not a room where Shinji
we do see him again later when they're down in the whatever that thing is called, that pit.
Do we?
Aren't they flying around that unit protecting it?
Oh, is that what they are?
I thought that's what.
I thought that was just something special to the unit. Maybe they are part of the Nemesis system, or series. Okay, what else do we got here? Sorry guys, I'm going through my notes. Unit 1, man, engine. We already talked about that. State of Awakening. Did they say something about that? I don't remember. I know we're
State of Awakening is what they're talking about. That's why they're talking to him like, why you can't pilot this, why I need this choker.
Okay.
Because we can't risk you going to another State of Awakening.
Right, okay. Oh, so as far as the 14 years go, as soon as they tell Shinji it's been 14 years, he says, well, how come you still look 14 years old, Asuka? And she says, that's the curse of the Evas.
Yep.
So what does that mean, if anything? I mean, is that just a line for the sake of a line? Is that like they didn't want to make the characters that are beloved look old? So
that's always kind of been a thing.
I don't know, here's the line.
That's everybody kind of makes that joke of maybe Curse of the Evas just like, oh, it's Japanese anime. Oh, is it looking 14?
Right.
You never know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that seems like a writer was in a room, maybe Anu himself, maybe somebody else, and we're like, wait, why would the characters get older? It's a curse.
Yeah.
Like, it seems almost a little lazy. It seems like maybe they just didn't want to have an awkward situation where Asuka looks like she's 28 years old, and like Mari would too. And then because Rei and Shinji would still look young. I don't know. Anyway, so they say that the only thing they were able to pull out of Unit 1, aside from Shinji, was the SStat cassette player.
Yep.
Shinji starts freaking out, like, where's Rei? He hears Rei's voice. I've always wondered, can everybody else hear Rei's voice at this part and are just ignoring it?
I don't think so.
You don't think they can?
I don't think they can.
Okay.
I think it's just Shinji.
Interesting. I've always wondered that. So Rei breaks in, busts him out. Mari identifies Rei as the vessel of the atoms, and I can't quite tell if she means the unit or Rei, the new Rei.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah, well, I know that she thinks it's specifically the Ava for sure. Because that she knows that's why the head's going back and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because even before when she talks about the vessel of atoms, it doesn't seem like she's referring to. Because Mari's kind of like this character where Avas are like really the only thing that matters to her.
Uh-huh.
So when she's talking later on about the vessel of atoms, it really looks like she's specifically talking about the Ava and not even like Rei's existing in there at all.
Okay. Side note, don't like Mari in this movie.
Really?
Don't at all. Hate her, actually. Think she's annoying as shit. Don't think she offers anything. In the second movie, she had some annoying stuff, but there was some cool stuff with her. For one thing, at the opening with her, she does some badass stuff. And then, she's a little annoying, a lot of weird boob jokes and stuff. But then she kind of has this badass moment where she awakens Unit 2 into this beast mode. And first of all, Mari already has this kind of interesting thing in that movie because it seems like she's like going around doing like spy shit.
Yeah.
And there's already sort of this mystery of like, who is this girl? What's she up to? And then when she activates beast mode, it's like, I've never seen anything like that. This girl's got something going on. There's this cool mystery to her. And now it's just like, well, now she just, I mean, maybe there's still something going on, but we don't ever...
Exactly.
But in this movie, we don't get that impression.
No, this movie didn't add anything additional to her character.
Exactly, and that's why I don't like her in this.
Yeah.
She just shows up and makes the same dumb joke she did in the last one, but without any of the fun intrigue
Well, you don't know,
mystery.
because before she wasn't with Nerve ever really, as far as we know.
Yeah.
She was an agent for someone else. And then all of a sudden she's with Vil, and we don't know why. And we don't know what she was doing before anything. It's just like... And again, I get this movie wasn't really about her and really anybody else except for Shinji. But at the same time,
you know what though? But this is my problem with it. It needs to be about her because she's a brand new character. Mm-hmm. We have no context for her. We have no reason to like her or care about her at all. So you have to have more than just well, she's here. That's okay with Rei or Asuka because we have
it's
history
also,
with those characters.
I guess maybe Shinji never actually saw her at the station with Vil, but at the same time, Shinji never was ever even be in a moment where he's just like, wait, why the hell is this girl I've seen before with you guys all of a sudden now?
Yeah.
Like, no even
It almost seems like they wrote a cool character in the second one, and they were like, well, we've got some cool ideas for her in the fourth one, but what's she going to do in the third one? I don't know, hang out.
Yeah.
And so, I'm saying I hope they have some cool ideas in the fourth one.
Me too.
Because if they don't, then I'm really going to hate that character. Yeah. There at least needs to be some kind of payoff where it's like, we learned something about her that's like, so that's what's been going on.
Yes,
if that moment doesn't happen, that's the biggest goddamn waste of a character. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but if there's nothing important about her in the fourth one, then that character is just purely for boob jokes, and that's it.
Yes, because, I mean, as of right now, there's just like, if you don't do anything, you basically add that character, add a character. Mm-hmm. You're like, I want to make another character.
And if you're adding a character to add a character, you shouldn't add a character that half of the scene she's in is like, oh, look at my boobs. And like she's running around, her boobs are jiggling. Yeah. She's putting her boobs in people's faces. She's talking about how the suit matches her cup size. Yeah. Like maybe if there's no depth to her character, then that's just like so sexist and weird. Yeah. And I know it's an anime. Yeah, I get it's an anime, but like, there's some of that in the original series, but it all had payoffs.
Maybe Shinji, or maybe Anno want to add a character that doesn't have any romance with Shinji per se, as far as like pairing or grouping together.
Yeah.
But make her more than boob jokes then.
Yeah.
Like, just make her be another character who...
That's the thing about Evangelion. I think that's why it's so bad about her character. If this was any other anime, okay, whatever. You got a big boob girl with big boob jokes. Sure, it's an anime. But the thing that makes Evangelion stand out is that it's rich characters. There's a lot of sexual attention and situations, but it's always, part of these characters' growth and the symbolism and depth of the show. It's never just like, here's sex for sex's sake. Yeah. And I think that's okay in some situations. I don't think that everything can't have like dumb boob or dumb dick jokes and stuff. That's fine. Put that in there. But Evangelion's a show that's above all that. And to see a character degraded to nothing but that in a world full of rich, deep characters that you care about, to have this character that's just like, here's a boob joke. It's so weird and out of character for the series. I don't know. And it seems like maybe they're trying to make her a little more interesting because like they give her like characteristics like, well, she sings when she fights. I don't fucking care. Yeah. She could take a shit while she fights. So I don't want to care.
Why would you care about that though?
I just mean like have her do fucking anything. Maybe every time she fights, she wants to fucking watch an episode of Seinfeld first. I don't know. Like that's not a character.
Yeah.
Anyways, honestly, the most interesting thing about her character is the people wondering if later on when Fuyutsuki shows a picture of Shinji's mom to Shinji, there's a character that looks very much like Mari there. And given the thing about the curse of the Evas, there's obviously a question of how long has Mari been 14? It's like she's like a vampire. It's like how long? What do they say in Twilight? I never saw it. How long have you been 18?
18.
Long
it's like how old
time.
are you? 18. How long is he? I don't know. You know what I mean though.
Yeah. I've never seen Twilight. My knowledge comes from the Twilight.
I forgot about that scene. That's a real funny scene.
Yeah. But anyways, so we go to Nerve HQ. What's left of it? We see Kaoru playing the piano. We learn about Ava 13. We see Gendo's got some cool Cyclops glasses. Mm-hmm. Presumably, he shoots lasers out of his eyes.
I think so.
I think that's the only takeaway we can have from this movie. He definitely shoots lasers out of his eyes. Or he's got like what's the guy from Next Generation? Jodie LaForge? Is that the character's name?
From what?
From Star Trek Next Generation. The guy who has
yeah.
But really, I don't know what is up with that.
No.
I know what he does, but I don't know.
Masato stole his other glasses, so he had to take these.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Masato started wearing different glasses. He's like, bitch stole my look.
Yep.
But anyways, we get a scene of Shinji talking to Rei, the new Rei. This is a character I like, the new Rei. Mm-hmm. She's interesting to me because there's some mystery to her. We see that, I think, in the original series, Rei 2, who we see through most of the show, seems to be aware of kind of the big picture. She knows about the other Reis. She says, I can die, I can be replaced. Even when we see Rei 3, Rei says, I think I might be the third one. They seem to be very aware of each other and Gendo's big plans. What I like about this Rei is she doesn't seem to know that stuff. So
exactly, what number of Rei is this one, too?
We don't know for sure because it's been 14 years.
Well, okay, I guess what number Rei was the one that Shinji was trying to save?
I don't know if we know that for sure either.
Okay.
Presumably Rei 2.
But
it could be Rei 1. We don't know if Rei 1 was killed in
what I was going to say again
franchise
is
the way she was in the original.
About Mari also makes a comment. I'm not saying the other one's worth thing. She said the original Rei at least was more interesting to you.
Mm.
So it also makes the thing maybe she's a little bit older than we know too, because maybe she could even be referring to Yui.
Could be.
Because I wouldn't exactly say that the other Rei was fun. And Mari we never saw any interactions with that Rei with Mari. So
that's
why would
true.
we know that?
I always got that was just sort of like a jab at Rei, more of like an insult, like you're shitty compared to the other one.
Yeah,
rather than like I actually considered which is.
But would it really be a jab to her if she doesn't even know that would be a jab to her? Because she's like, "What do you mean?"
Maybe. I mean, it affected her, so it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just feel like there might be a little bit more
warfare, man.
I think there might be a little bit more to that then.
It could be, but I like this Rei because she seems to not understand. Like she seems to have some inkling that there has been another Rei and that she's not the only one. But I don't really think she understands. Whereas I think in the original series, and maybe with the previous Rei, Gendo was kind of open and shared a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't get that impression with this new Rei. It seems like she just gets an order and she just does it.
Yep.
Whereas in the original, I always got the impression Gendo might have talked to Rei a little bit more and let her in on some of his plans.
I mean, he ate dinners with her and did all this stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. He seemed to sort of have a friendly rapport with her. This Rei seems purely a tool for him to use. And she seems to not really enjoy that. I mean, she even decides to go with these guys at the end rather than to try to go back and find Gendo, which is interesting. I mean, we see she even makes her own decision in this movie.
See, that's
Asuka, like she says, like, what would the original Rei do? And Asuka says, I don't know. What are you going to do? And she chooses to eject, even though that's not.
I think it's
order.
interesting because in 4, I think we're going to get a different Rei than we've ever seen before. Because before she's always had that attachment to Gendo and Shinji, almost kind of bridging those two characters together. This time, it seems like this one's going to be, since she has no personal connection to Gendo, does not even care at all about Gendo whatsoever, and just be purely caring about the people she's with now.
Could be. So we hear that Seele has been maintaining silence since near Third Impact. So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how numbers work. You go 1, and then you go 2, and then you go 3, and then 4.
Okay.
If 3 doesn't happen, and you call it like almost 3, or you could call it 2.5, then you don't go to 4 next.
Well, like it's kind of like I feel like they kind of brush over explain that why, because Kaworu refers it to as the Third Impact, but he says the Lilin call it near Third Impact.
That's true, I guess.
So he's kind of like this one is the Fourth Impact.
They just use a bullshit term for it. Okay, fair enough. It just seemed weird to me because it's like you can't call something near. I mean, it's like being like. How can you? I was gonna try to make a Harry Potter joke.
How can it be near the impact?
Anyways, what else we got? Sailor's been quiet. We don't understand why. We see some piano montages, which are animated very well, you might say. A lot of people in the from the original series like to make jokes or like to genuinely ship Shinji and Kaoru. This movie has a lot of scenes that would make you maybe do that if you're into that kind of thing.
Here's the thing, too. If you like that, that's totally cool. I don't care if that's what you guys are together. But you can't use this as evidence that these are supposed to be two people together because literally Evangelion has nothing but fan service moments for every character in that instance.
Yeah.
So, to me, this is just more fan service stuff for them being together.
Sure. Plus, I've always felt like, I think it's easy to look at the way Kaoru acts and say, wow, that dude's gay. I think it's easy to say that.
Sure.
Look at the scene where they're looking at the stars and Shinji looks over and Kaoru's like up leaning against him.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, which is similar to a scene in the original series when they're in the bedroom together, and they're laying down talking.
Shinji or Kaoru seems like the type of guy who like, if he is gay, I'm not saying he's not, who, like, knows he's gay, but, like, suspects someone he's, like, hitting on might be gay. So he's, like, really trying to make you uncomfortable because he knows you're conflicted with it. So he's just fucking with you.
I always got the impression that Karu being wholly an angel, because Rey might have some sexuality because she is.
Yes. I think I kind of agree with you about that.
Yeah, I think Karu is wholly an angel. Like, whereas Rey is somewhat created from Lilith. She, first of all, if
and we don't mean angel like in the biblical terms that they can't do anything wrong like that. We mean in terms of these are androgynous non-sexual beings.
Yeah. They don't. As far as we know, they do not continue their species by reproduction. They seem to be born asexually. So it doesn't really make sense that Karu would be sexually attracted to anything. Now, you could argue that Shinji is sexually attracted to Karu.
Yes.
Sure, that's fair. But
I will say,
I think that Shinji is just so vulnerable. He somebody's nice to him, and like he's in love with them for that, not because he's sexually attracted to them. Well, I think there is a lot of sexual themes and symbolism in the show, but I always got the impression that this is almost a mystery.
Even in the original series, it's kind of the same way of like, regardless of whether they're romantically interested or just like the best friends that ever were, is Kaoru's character is always supposed to be like, this is the character who has treated Shinji like Shinji has never been treated before.
Exactly.
Like, he unconditionally loves and does whatever Shinji wants. He explains things to Shinji. He doesn't hide things from Shinji. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't tell him to do something that he doesn't want to do. And none of the other characters up to that moment until Shinji meets that character has ever done that to Shinji before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course he's going to love him to some extent because he's finally being like, great, someone finally is like, not treating me like a little bitch.
Shinji believes that his entire life everybody has hated him, and the only times they've been nice to him was to get something out of him. And I mean, I think in this movie he feels like that more than ever.
Yeah.
The only character that will even look at him without hate is Rey, but he gets nothing out of Rey.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't seem to hate him, but he can't talk to her. She's not the Rey that he works so hard to save. And especially after he sees, even if he doesn't think it was his fault, or even if it's not entirely his fault, he sees the repercussions of his actions in the last movie. And he says, his defense is like, okay, everybody died, but I have to have at least saved Rey. And then he's like, not only did everybody die, all of my friends, all of this city, and most of the world, but I didn't even do the one thing that maybe could have made it worth it to me.
Yeah.
I failed in every way. If he could have at least saved Rey. So, he's the most vulnerable he's ever been. Everybody hates him. He feels like he's done everything wrong. But then Karu is here and still helping him and still caring about him. And it's, you could argue that that's I just don't see how that's sexual. Like, it's not.
And again, if you want to be sexual, we're not saying like I don't make it seem like we're going on a wrong rant saying that they can't be sexual characters together, whatever. In a way, because
sure.
But I just the thing of being like, you gotta realize, where that connection comes from, why it's so obviously there, kind of thing. Not a romantic one, but like, just why Shinji feels the way he feels about it.
Well, I think the reason it's easy to think that it's not sexual is because we do see, especially in the series, we see Shinji has somewhat sexual fantasies about the other characters. Especially in End of Evangelion, where he pictures himself actually having sex with the characters, and they say, the scene where he sees like all three of them, and like he sees them like sort of connected into him, and they're sort of melding into each other. He sees Misato, Asuka, and Rei, and kind of imagines them very sexually. There's scenes where he is in bed with Asuka and tries to kiss her. He falls on Rei and is going second base on her. There's a lot of sexual tension with the angles that we see from Misato. But we never see a scene like that with Karu.
Doesn't Karu kiss Shinji in the original series?
In the original series, does he kiss him?
I thought they kissed. Because like in a bathtub naked together too.
They do take a shower. I guess that's to be fair. In the original series, maybe there is something, but I don't know. In this movie, though, there's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything. I don't think that necessarily there's supposed to be something sexual. There's definitely something like a connection for sure between these characters. Because also, again, too, Shinji literally, again, third impact was yesterday for him. And no one's telling him anything going on except Karu. Karu's the only person who's like, here, let me show you what literally happened.
Do they kiss in the series?
I thought they did, but maybe not.
Maybe they do. Maybe you're right. Okay, well then maybe my argument is a little bit not valid. At least in the series. Man, I don't remember them kissing. Maybe they do though. But yeah, even if there is a possibility of those characters having somewhat of a romance, I still think that it goes far deeper than that. I don't think it's nearly as shallow as like Shinji would picture himself with like Asuka.
Yes, exactly. It's a very those two characters absolutely have a very deep connection. There's a reason why those two characters can synchronize together perfectly to pilot that thing. Like there's obviously a deep connection
for sure.
And again, there's still that whole theory that Kaoru is somehow a reincarnation of a previous version of Shinji or whatever too.
Yeah, I don't believe that though. But yeah, I mean there is some merit.
There is some merit to that there. Where he calls Gendo father and all these other weird things.
Yeah.
But again, he does call. Doesn't he call Gendo the father of all Lilith? Or no, he calls him the king of all Lilith.
The king of all Lilith,
Right.
yeah. Moving right along, what else we got? We were talking about Cesar's shirt. I already brought up that they go down into the deep. But I guess, okay, so when they're down there, when Kaoru takes Shinji down there, we mentioned kind of like how Shinji feels about all that. But let's talk about the stuff we see.
Yes.
Because we see some fucking stuff. And this is one of the reasons I liked this movie a lot, and I know some other people didn't because it's confusing and stuff. But, if you've listened to our show very long, you listeners might know probably my favorite series of all time is Lost. And what I think Lost did really well, I'm not going to spoil anything for Lost, don't worry. What I think Lost did really well is it would show you stuff that would be really fucking weird. A strange image, a weird voice on a radio, a weird monitor or a map on a wall. It would show you something fucking crazy. And then it would just be like, you would just be going nuts with like, what the fuck was that thing I saw? This movie does that so goddamn well.
Yeah.
And it's mostly in this scene. So we see a gigantic sphere, which appears to be like one of the, I believe they're referred to as moons.
Yeah.
That are in like the craters, like there's the crater for Adam and the crater for Lilith. I'm forgetting all the commonly used terminology. But I think one's called like the black moon and one's like the white moon, right?
Like
one of them birthed man, one of them birthed the angels. I would guess that it's one of those, but it appears fucked up. It's got all these this red grid on it, and it appears to be sort of cloudy. It almost looks like a mini Earth, the way it looks now.
Yes.
Looks very interesting. The next thing I want to talk about, the ground have fucking teeth in them. I was going to say the teeth have fucking ground in them. The ground have fucking teeth.
Yeah.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
Yeah. I kind of forgot to even pay attention to that this time.
Yeah, there's goddamn teeth in the ground. I don't know what that means. We see an upside down triangle, sort of similar of Nerve HQ, sitting atop a large pillar.
Yeah.
There's an upside down triangle, or a pyramid, I guess you would say. It's not really a triangle. We hear Kaoru say some very expository dialogue that doesn't really make sense about human instrumentality. We see a bunch of what sort of look like Evangelions.
Yes, they look like.
We hear Kaoru say that this is something about like the failed next step in evolution.
Yeah.
We get the impression that there's those fucking teeth in the ground. Sorry, we're pulling up the video here.
Yeah, that definitely looks like teeth for sure.
Those definitely look like teeth.
That absolutely looks like teeth.
God, what is that?
Yeah,
big red teeth. It's the worm from Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, there we
go. Sorry, I hope everybody knows what we're talking about because you're really confused if you don't. Surely people have paid attention to this scene. But there's sort of an impression that if human instrumentality had worked, were people transforming into these giant
That's
beings?
what I got the impression was like when it was working, it was them, because they talk about evolution. Although when I hear them talk about evolution this time through the dub, it does seem slightly different than how I always imagined it.
Okay.
Because how he talks about the Lila now is they themselves don't evolve, they evolve the environment around them. And this one looks like, if it would be the other way, it looks like they were evolving themselves.
Yeah, so this is something I want to bring up. I'm going to, because this isn't my original theory, this is something I saw. I'll give a quick shout out. Anybody who listened to our stuff before knows we're fans of Mega 64. And I'm sure a lot of Evangelion fans who even aren't fans of Mega 64 watched their Evangelion 3 spoiler cast that they did. Mm-hmm. If you haven't watched it, it's probably a lot smarter than anything we're saying. It's about like 3.5 hours long, and it came out right after the sub came out. They talk about Evangelion for a long time. One of them proposes a theory on that in the original series, because in the end of Evangelion, Rei betrays Gendo, does not follow his plan, and then gives the reins to Shinji. When Shinji decides to end the world, a form of instrumentality happens that Seele is happy with, but Gendo is not pleased with, or does not appear to be pleased with. The impression we get from that is that Gendo's version that he was trying to manipulate, because his version was not the same as Seile's. So it seems like his version failed. And what Shinji activates is actually what Seele wanted, which is for all humankind to return to the primordial soup and be together as one and kind of start over.
Right.
Having to crawl out of the sea yet again in the future. Gendo's version almost appears like what we're getting now, which is where instead of all of man returning to one, man almost ascends to becoming gods. Evangelions are often referred to as sort of as gods in the show. And it almost appears that people are transforming into that. Maybe the next step for Gendo isn't to restart at zero, but it's to actually take the next step.
Yeah, because, I mean, their biggest threat is the angels, right?
Yeah.
So, if they become Avas, the one thing they use to fight angels, then angels don't become really much of a threat anymore.
Right. Well, no, also, if that were to work, if people were given the power of gods, surely they would be able to do a lot more things, right? Yeah. Gendo wants full control over things. If he had the power of God, I don't know for sure.
I don't know either.
There's some holes in that theory, but there's holes in all the theories right now. But I've always thought that maybe that's kind of what could be going on here.
Yeah. I mean, because they also constantly refer to, let's see, what do I have here? Yeah, because they refer to about having extinction, human instrumentality, that's what it is there. They still refer to Kawaru as the Sele boy. And they also talking about trying to still rewrite the Sele script. So, like, they're still working with Sele, but at the same time still trying to redo whatever Sele wanted.
Yeah.
So Sele just wanted they wanted people to come together, right? They were the ones that wanted the human instrumentality coming together, right?
Yes.
And Gendo's the one who wants to flip that script and put it to, we evolve to the next step. We come out of the humans.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's my interpretation.
Yeah,
based on what I've heard from other people.
Okay.
Because
I think that, I mean, this, to me, from the sub to dub, this scene was most important to me. Because when I watched the dub, it was just still kind of hard to understand. Mm-hmm. But just actually hearing when Kawaru discusses, like, okay, this makes way more sense to me now. It doesn't seem like a bunch of like cryptic kind of like, what are they talking about? And it's like, okay. I actually got it. So this seems like super, super important, I think, as far as this movie goes. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most important scenes, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We see Rey, the new Rey. Blu-ray. We see Blu-ray in her little tube that she hangs out in.
A tube? It's a tube? I thought it was a hut.
No, there's a scene where she's in her tube.
Oh.
And she sees what appears to be one of the quantum rays, as they're referred to by most people. If you don't know what that is, it's the random rays that appear throughout the series.
Yeah.
The original series as well as the rebuilds, which is Rey in her schoolgirl outfit. We see them sort of stare each other down. Now, it's hard to say if this is maybe meant to be the Rey that Shinji may have possibly saved, or if this is just one of those general quantum rays.
Right.
Or if possibly those things are one and the same.
Yeah.
The quantum ray things has always been a big topic of discussion for Evangelion fans because it's so hard to comprehend what that could mean. There's a lot of theories about the quantum rays.
There's like one person who knows what that means, and that is Ano, probably.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't even know.
Maybe
he puts it in there because he thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
He likes to watch people fucking guess about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do see one of this movie. What's up?
Sorry, going through this thing always made me think too. It's like Shinji is never suspect of Kawaru just being like, I can be down here no problem and wearing a suit.
Yeah, I do think that's interesting. That he's never like, how come I gotta wear? Sorry, we're talking about when they go down to look at the remains of like the scene we're just talking about, the teeth in the ground and all that. Shinji has to wear some kind of oxygen suit, and Karu's just walking around like it's fucking nothing.
Yeah. Which is fine. I understand why that is.
Oh yeah, I understand too. But you think Shinji would be like, "Hey, wait." Maybe there is like a deleted scene before they go down where Shinji's like, "Shouldn't you wear one?" And Karu's like, "I don't need one" or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's supposed to be a scene in the script or something
like that.
But I mean, we don't need to see it. We get it.
Yeah, moving on.
What else we got? So there's a scene where Fuyutsuki plays a game with Shinji. I don't remember what the game's called. Some Japanese game. Shogi.
Yeah. It's like chess.
Shogi jump.
Or shogi. Maybe it's shogi. I don't know. It's Japanese chess or whatever.
Yeah. So they play together. I always really liked this scene.
Yes.
I always really liked Fuyutsuki as a character. In the original series, here we go. So we're looking up the scene where Rey is in her little tube and she sees the quantum ray. Very interesting scene.
Yeah, I totally know about that scene.
So Fusey's a character in the show, in the original series, that we knew nothing about. He's kind of like there's the right-hand lapdog.
Right.
And then there's the one episode where we find out, episode 21, probably my favorite episode, where you see the flashbacks of kind of how Nerve was started.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, sorry guys, if you hear a weird noise in the background, it's the ice cream man going by. And by ice cream man, we mean guy on a bike that sells ice cream. Anyways, so we find out about kind of Fusey's backstory, how he got involved with Nerve. And I've always really loved that episode. And I think that's such a cool episode of, like, taking this background, nothing ancillary character and making him this incredibly deep, fleshed out character. I've always loved that episode for that, among other reasons. That episode's great. But this is kind of that scene, or, you know, that for this new series, because we don't get a whole episode with him in this. But it's such a cool scene between those characters that have never really interacted at all. Even in the original series, never had any interaction. And Fusey just straight up lays it all out for Shinji. Like, stuff that for Shinji in the original series, you know, he always had to learn kind of non-directly. No one ever sat Shinji down ever and was like, hey, Shinji, here's what's going on. Yeah. And it's kind of cool to see a scene where he's just like, hey, Shinji, your mom's in the Ava, and raise a clone of your mom. And it's just it's just this huge truth bomb on Shinji.
Which is kind of funny because it never seems like Shinji has any more affinity, what do you want to say, affinity towards, what's his name, Fusey? Despite the fact that, like, Fusey's, like, clearly has your best interest. I mean, Fusey's like the Professor Snape of Shinji Ikari's thing. Like, in love with his mom and just trying to protect him. Very true.
Dude, maybe, I mean, this came out before Harry Potter was written.
True.
The original series, not this movie, obviously. But the original series. Maybe there's some copycat going on. But here's the question I want to propose real quick. We're not going to spend too long talking about this, because I want to keep moving. And I also want to talk a little bit more about that scene. But in this scene, we quickly find out stuff that we hadn't really heard in these movies.
Yes.
About
stuff we kind of knew, but we didn't.
Exactly. And so I'm wondering, if you had not seen the original series, if you were just watching these rebuilds, would this scene be sort of a bummer? Like, you find out these really important facts that are really, really important and big knowledge drops. But they're kind of just, in this movie, they're kind of just thrown out there like, oh yeah, you know, your mom's in the Ava. And like, to us fans, it's like, oh yeah, we already know, so it's fine that we don't make a big deal of it. Let's brush this aside and move on. And it's cool to just hear Shinji just be told that. But if you are Shinji in this situation, if you're an audience member and you just have never known that, and you sit down and watch that, you're kind of like, oh, they kind of just brush that aside.
Well,
like it was
do they kind of brush over that? Because immediately we have the scene of where Shinji has that breakdown. I feel like that breakdown's a combination of, you now know Rei's nothing but a clone. You found out your mom is in the AV you've been playing this whole entire time. It just kind of has that.
Yeah,
breakdown.
I guess so.
I feel like it's kind of a build-up breakdown.
But it's almost after the fact that there's no really reveal to it.
Sure. I mean, there's no fancy reveal to it, but I still feel like that's a direct reaction of what he just heard.
Right, but I mean, in the original series, when we find out Rei was a clone, it was like, the way it was handled was like, oh my god, that's nuts. But yeah, we do one cool thing. You know, they always promise fan service in their little previews. One cool thing, in terms of actual fan service, we get a shot of Yui going into Unit 1, which we never saw on the show.
Yeah.
We only saw it from Shinji's eyes of like him looking through the glass. We actually never got to see Yui enter Unit 1, and it's something. She's got like fucking wings on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's going on. But it's a quick little thing, but that's cool to see.
Yeah.
As a fan, it's cool that we get to finally see that.
And how much of that is actual happening, what Shinji just visualizing?
I think that's how I think that's a direct flashback is what it's meant to be. I almost feel like that's the way. Maybe that is the way Shinji
it's still a flashback through Shinji's mind, though. Because it
could be. Or
why does she have angel wings on? I just don't understand.
It could be Fuyutsuki remembering it.
True. Could be Fuyutsuki.
But anyways, I'm going to assume Shinji lost that round of the game.
I don't think he could play.
I think he probably lost after that. Also, during that scene, we see there's like 1 billion Rei heads just lying on the walls.
Yeah.
Fucking weird.
Yep. It kind of almost just shows you the complete disregard Gendo starts getting for these Reis.
Yes, absolutely. Fuyutsuki also mentions what we said earlier, that Rei and Yui both seem to be stored together in Unit 1, which is apparently as per Gendo's plan.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We see a gigantic head, which looks like Yui's head, or Rei's head, but it seems to actually be the head of Lilith. But it almost, I mean, that's not what Lilith looked like before. So for some reason, it seems to have taken the shape of Rei or Yui. I think Yui.
Yeah, because it does that too in the original series. It takes the form
of Rei.
Rei, yeah.
Yeah. But it almost looks like it has darker hair in this, like Yui did. It could just be lighting, though.
I think that might be lighting. I think it's just the same color all the way through.
So then we have the trippy scene where Shinji has his PTSD breakdown. Then Karu comes and kind of convinces him to move forward with this plan that he has, which involves finding the Spear of Cassius and the Lance of Longinus, which apparently is what it's called now. The term Lance of Longinus is not an Evangelion term. That's from the Bible.
Yeah.
That was the spear that stabbed Christ. So it's not like that's a fictional term that you can just change.
Well, maybe they were
pronunciation
pronouncing
to.
it wrong before and we didn't know it.
Maybe, but I'll eat a hat if that's called Longinus. Longinus. It's so goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
You can't. I mean, even if that's how it's meant to be pronounced, keep it the way it was. Longinus sounds cool. The Lance of Longinus. That's cool. Longinus. There's no way to say that and not sound like a piece of shit.
Yep.
I loved watching the English dub, but that was not fun. I didn't want to hear that. But anyways, the plan involves getting both of those, the spear and the lance, to do something with. I don't really understand what Karu's plan is. Shinji seems to really understand it and be all for it. I don't know what it means. He's like, we'll get those two, and then we'll save the world.
Pronouncenames.com.
That wasn't the pronunciation.
Saint Longinus.
Longines? Is it French?
It's Italian.
Longinus.
Longinus.
Lunches.
Lance of Longinus. You know what? We're a small podcast that only has a couple hundred views. We're officially decreeing it's Lance of Longinus.
Sure.
From now on, that's law.
Change
if
the
somebody
Bible.
says Longinus, you can arrest them.
Yep.
If you just put this on the stand as a testimony, call us as witness. We will testify. It's Longinus. Anybody that says Longinus will go to jail for life. Including, we need to find out the voice actor who did Karu.
Yep.
He's not going to be back in the next movie. His character died. He's not doing anything.
It is Longinus.
Nope, it's not. We're going to arrest whoever did that website as well. We're going to...
So, do you think that was one of the dumb corrections they did? Like, the guy for Japanese, like,
Oh my
no,
God.
you pronounced it wrong. It's Longinus. You have to re-record the whole
We're going to go
movie.
straight up Daredevil. I'm going to become a lawyer and a vigilante. I'm going to beat up everybody that says Longinus and then sue them during the day.
Okay, so that's official.
Nobody comment on this video and say Longinus. We'll delete your
Are
comment.
you,
we'll block you from all social
Comment,
media.
put in the comments, are you team Longinus or Longinus?
Yeah, we'll do a Twitter poll or something.
Yeah. The thing is, you won't be able to know which one's which because they'll be spelled the exact same way.
Yeah. But you better pick the fucking right one or else. So, what else? Shinji has a little burn on Rei by saying she's not even the real Rei. She actually seems affected by that. She seems to be hurt.
Yeah,
by
he
that.
seems like real butthurt. It's not the real Ray.
Yeah.
Which I guess she would be.
Yeah. There's a line when they are going down and they see a lot more of those sort of Eva bodies. And Karu says, those are the remains of those who fell short of infinity. Which seems to be more what I was saying about, it seems like they were, because I think by becoming that, I don't want to call them Evangelions, but that's just the best term for it.
Yeah.
By bridging that next step in instrumentality in human evolution, presumably you would become immortal.
Yes. So, and I do think, I mean, it's pretty common that gods and, like, especially, like, biblical stuff is referred to, like, Omega and, like, the beginning of the end and infinity like that. So I think that's just kind of meant, like you're saying, they're going to become gods.
Yeah. So those are the ones who fell short of that infinity, of existing forever as a god. We see some huge-ass skulls, presumably more of that. We see what remains of Lilith, according to Karu, which is a gigantic corpse that is beheaded. Of course, we know where the head is already. Then,
So did, like, Gindu just, like, put that in his office? It's like, this would be a good decoration.
I mean, that's Gendo for you, man.
He invented a machine to bring that up there.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it was Futsuki, too. Like, I
How
imagine
did-
he's
but
like,
that-
Futsuki, bring the head to my office.
But that bottom place was sealed off, so how'd you get the head?
Maybe they sealed it off after they brought the head up.
That's so weird.
Then we see an Eva, which Karu says is the Mark VI, which is the Eva he formerly piloted in 2.
Yeah.
We see Cassius and Longinus are there, but Karu says that they have shifted in form and no longer appear to be what they should be.
Yep.
Not sure what that means.
Because he says that, again, later says the spears are identical, and the spears are not supposed to be identical.
Mm-hmm. I still don't know exactly what his plan was, but apparently it's not going to work with these two spears or lances or whatever they are.
It's both.
After they remove them, after Shinji removes them, we see the Mark 6, which apparently is referred to as the 12th angel now.
Hold on, before we go into this,
Okay.
I do want to point this out. So before we're talking about maybe Shinji didn't have full accountability for what necessarily happened before, although you could place blame on him. This part is literally nobody's fault but Shinji's.
Yes, it
100%. This is the opposite of what happened last time. When people are saying, "Go Shinji, go." Everybody's saying, "Shinji, stop it," and Shinji
Everybody
still
is.
insisted, being like, "No, I can do this," despite the fact that the only person you trusted and told you everything just said, "Shinji, don't do this. You're not helping anybody out by doing this. This is the wrong one." He's like, "What do you mean? You just said it was the right one." Yeah, but I then after that said it was the wrong one. So go with what I currently just said, not what I said 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
Like, this scene just pisses me off watching it, be like, "Shinji, stop it. Stop it."
So as the new angel starts to form itself, Rey looks at it and says, "It's me." Interesting line.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure what that's supposed to mean.
Well, because the face looks like her.
Yeah, I guess so. Carter says the first angel is defeated by the 13th. So somehow he, believing himself to be the first angel, not sure if that's actually true, now becomes the 13th angel, or maybe he was all along.
Yeah.
In the original series, we were never told that he was the first and the last. We're told that he was always the last.
Yeah.
So in this one, he seems to be confused about that. So I don't know if he actually.
Well, is it the subbed or am I thinking of the series where it makes the comment how embarrassing I felt coming from the first to fall to the last one like that?
I don't know.
Does he make like some comment like that? Like he fell to, like being the 13th is almost insulting.
In this,
Not in this one, but like in the sub or.
but
the
in this
series.
movie.
I think in the sub version.
Okay,
movie
not
or
in the
series.
show is what I mean.
I'm talking about either one. I feel like I've heard him say that before.
I don't think there's anything like that in the original series.
Okay.
He's always the last angel in the original series.
So he never mentions about being the first one in that one.
No,
Okay. So maybe in the sub, he must have made that comment.
maybe.
But yeah, this makes more sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, he definitely refers himself as the first angel in this, and both even the sub one we watched too.
So we see Sele being shut down. One of them does speak to Gendo, and Gendo assures them that instrumentality will happen. The whichever Sele number 1, whoever that's supposed to be, seems pleased.
Broke silence for all those years.
Hell yeah. We see fourth impact occurs, or starts to occur.
Near fourth impact.
Apparently now it's going to be near fourth impact.
Almost fourth impact. They're gonna change it up.
Yeah, true. So it starts to occur. All kinds of shit happens. We see Asuka transforms her. Her Eva is now a transformer.
Mhm.
It turns into a cat.
Yep.
You know, it's cool seeing beast mode. I loved beast mode from the last one, but this one straight up turns into a cat. It has little paws.
Yeah.
It has little paws. What's that?
It's a cat now. It has a tail even and everything.
It does have a tail, but even the tail I'll buy. Whatever, something shot out of his butt. Whatever, but its hands turned into cat paws.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
I mean, it's gotta look like a cat.
It's dumb. I loved beast mode from the last one. That was fucking cool. This one's a little too far. Karu decides that to stop this, he must sacrifice himself, which apparently isn't even true because it still continues until Shinji gets ejected. So maybe he didn't even need to die. But whatever. It's all about symbolism and importance of actions.
Right.
His death's very gruesome. It's a really fucked
Very
up death.
yes.
I mean, he was beheaded in the original series. Presumably it was as violent, but we don't really see it as close up. Shinji's like a foot away from him. I'm assuming in the original series, Shinji probably didn't even quite look when he actually pulled the trigger to do it. In this, he's looking at him, and we see that there is like mush that lands on the wall. It's not just blood; it's a lot of little mushy parts. There's a gross noise to it. It's fucking dark.
Yeah.
Some dark ass shit. Shinji after that is like just straight up like catatonic. Like he can't even like move around.
No.
Asuka later on just like shoves him, and he just like collapses.
Because I love the scene of the blood just completely covering, but just that small part where she could, because you know exactly why he's so paralyzed. What he's looking at, he's literally seeing what he thought was like one of his like closest friends, just his body with no fucking head.
Yeah,
just the blood coming out.
It's fucked up.
That's gotta be fucked up. Yeah,
it's real fucked up. And I mean, Shinji. Earlier in the movie, Shinji was at the low point of his life. One person came along to give him hope and to change it, and he watched that person's head explode like a grape. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
This movie's just such a downer.
Yeah.
There's just nothing positive to say about this movie. Not. I don't mean that in a bad way.
It's a bad movie, but
there's no like tonally.
Totally, yeah.
There's nothing positive to take away. Like you can't feel good after this movie.
No.
You kind of just feel drained. It's like the 7 of the Evangelion world. It's a great movie, but it's like after 7, you don't want to like order pizza and hang out with your friends. You want to like go take a nap. No spoilers for 7. But you've had like 20 years.
I mean, you don't even really say what happened. I mean, you didn't spoil much.
Yeah, I know. But I said that it doesn't end happy.
Sure.
But to be fair, they say that in the movie. There's like early in the movie, they're like, this isn't going to end well, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is what I'm talking about 7. Why do we every time we do one of these? Last time we talked about Face Off for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
Ironically, we have a video coming out soon about Face Off,
Off,
so watch
sure.
that. Not the makeup series on TV, the movie.
Mm.
Then they walk into the sunset.
Yeah.
Together, not Lilo, Ray, Asuka, and
Because they say what is it? The elf field, or is that what it's called?
the elf field. Yep, they're gonna go see the elves.
The elf field. L field.
I don't remember.
They keep talking about something called the L something. I don't know what it stands for.
But yeah, they're gonna go somewhere, and then after the credits scene, we hear that Shinji is gonna find hope. That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. So
Shinji, the theatrical, whatever.
I'm not sure when 4 comes out. I don't think they've announced any sort of date. Let us know in the comments if you guys would like us to do this. I'd kind of like to do a prediction podcast episode.
Yeah,
where we just talk about.
We just talk about this. Let's put together everything we've talked about in the rebuilds and do some like speculation.
Yeah, like legitimate, like based on stuff and like just
Yeah.
stuff. Kind of what our expectations
Because
would be.
it's like when we watch 2.0 or whatever, it's easy to talk about what we think might happen, but then it's hard to go back to now watching this and remember what we talked about previously.
Yeah.
So if we just get like our, just kind of get everything together with clear consensus, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, and you know what? It's probably going to be a while before we do that because I would like to do it closer to when 4 comes out.
Yeah.
But hey, everybody out there, because I would love to hear other people's speculation of what they.
I
think
forgot
it's
they
gonna
announced
be
the
in
name for it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
What is it?
At least what we think it might be. It's 3.0 plus 1.0. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. Which is just 4, so just call it 4.
Yeah.
Don't be dumb.
No, it's different.
It's
this
like
is, this is also,
Evangelion 8.0
this is also
8.0
Evangelion
plus 2.0. Call it fucking 10.
Well, this is Evangelion Q.
But anyways, I would like to hear if we did do that, which I think we will, but it's just going to be a while. I would like to hear what other people what they speculate.
Yeah,
would be in
definitely.
there.
That'd be awesome.
So I don't want to say email us.
What's your favorite theories and what's your favorite slash fiction and
Hell yeah! Email us your favorite your hottest fan fiction.
yeah, who's your waifu?
Whether you wrote it or whether somebody else wrote it, just email us the hottest one. Maybe, dude, what if we did an episode where we just read fan fiction?
Yeah, I'll read your fan fiction. Do
Dude,
it.
I would legitimately do that. Let us know who
I'll
wants
read
to do that.
I'll do it.
I would. That would be so much fun. We'll get some beers and do that. Because I don't want to be sober for that. But anyways, when we do get close to doing the prediction cast for 4, I'd like to hear what other people have to say. So I don't want to ask you to email us your stuff now for the predictions because we're probably so far away from doing that. I would hate for your things to get lost in the mix, or just that it takes so long that like even if we do keep yours and read it, you may not be around to listen to it. So I'm gonna say, I think the best way is just follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter.com/thewetrats, and when we get close to doing that, I'll put out a thing on Twitter. I do update stuff on Twitter. Now, to be fair, you might not want to follow us on Twitter because we don't just do Evangelion stuff. We do a lot of other stuff. At this point, we barely do Evangelion stuff. So I understand if you don't want to follow our other endeavors. But if you do later on want to try to listen to that and would like to email in your predictions, please follow us on Twitter. It's probably going to be a few months away, but I will definitely put out a thing on Twitter saying, hey, we're going to do the prediction cast. Email us in your predictions.
We do have a website that we could probably do updated stuff on.
We do.
Too.
Sorry, guys. Not sure what that knocking's about. I'm sure that picked up on the mic, though. We do have a website, thewetrats.com. But in the meantime, you can email us about this episode, or just leave a comment on YouTube, or message us on Twitter. Let us know what you guys thought about this, your theories, how dumb we are, whatever you want to say, or send us some fan fictions. And if there's, because we might, I think there might be some more short films coming out, hopefully. Mm-hmm. So we might do some other episodes before the prediction thing, before we get closer to 4. Definitely around the time 4 comes out, we're going to do some coverage of it.
I will say, just based off of speculation I was looking at, it was speculated that the original release date was supposed to be during late 2015. However, it was put on unknown delay date due to Anno's involvement with Godzilla Resurgence.
Okay, well, hey, we'll do some Godzilla Resurgence
in the meantime,
podcasts, too.
Watch Godzilla Resurgence and tell us if the tie-ins to Evangelion.
Yeah, just do that. But yeah, all that stuff, email us, and maybe we'll do a fan fiction reading or something if you email us your fan fictions.
Do that.
Tell us who your favorite shipping is, and tell us why it's...
Mine is the...
Go ahead.
Colorado. That's my favorite ship.
What's that?
That naval ship in the U.S. Army. Colorado.
Colorado, the
Pearl Harbor.
The turtle from Paper Mario?
No. I like the ship.
The archaeologist?
Yeah.
Colorado?
Colorado.
My favorite ship from Evangelion is definitely Asuka's doll and Pin Pin.
That's a good one. I like Futsuge and
Futsuge.
Futsuge.
Remember to follow us for more funny content like that. We're going to be here all year. So thanks for listening to this episode, guys. And goodbye.
Check you later.